the seagulls follow the chart, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday night. You know what that means. Only one thing. It is time for T.N.F on the Bhoycie Bus. Yes, as you can see, I'm standing in again in the old driving seat tonight. But don't worry, we'll... so if I look at the team I've got around me as well to keep us going tonight. But yeah, we'll do the introductions first and foremost. So Mark, the judge of mainstay on the old T.N.F. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing very well. Phil, thanks me. How's you?
Aye, I'm all right. You know, all good. So enjoy a wee venture on the old T.N.F. You know, never know what the viewers are going to throw at us for questions and points tonight. And as I've said already in the intro, make sure you get your points in, folks, because this international break is giving us a bit of a dry spell when it comes to things to talk about. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled on the comments pretty early tonight. And hi, look at this. Liam, the Punk Duck Wallard, Canada's favourite Tim is on, the wise man of the bus. It's not Friday night as well. Liam, how are we going to get through this talking about modern day Celtic? You and I don't usually do this. What's happening?
And I missed last week as well. I missed last week's Bustalgia. I'm going through Celtic withdrawal right now. This night couldn't come quick enough.
That's good to have you on, mate. But I say tonight we're going to have to talk about modern day Celtic, but I'm sure we'll get through it somehow. And Connor, down in the bottom there, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I'm Fan Davidosi.
Davidosi. It's a great way of putting it, mate. Oh, welcome back on, guys. So yeah, we will before we go into the crux of the show, naturally I will do all the good stuff that we like to remind you of. So of course, if you're brand new to the bus, you only discovered this, then hit that subscribe button. Why not? What's stopping you from doing so? Keep us in your lives that little bit longer. And of course, remember that bell notification button next to it, because you'll get your notifications when we go live. We go live plenty of times. Of course, hit the like button, helps us out with the algorithm, spreads the word of the bus, puts it in more people's recommended sections on their YouTube channels, on their YouTube account. Of course, get involved in the comments tonight. T.N.F is all about you guys, so please obviously hit us up with your points and your questions you want us to go over tonight regarding Celtic. And of course, if you wish to share the link of the Bhoycie Bus, then by all means, please do so on any social media platforms. And of course, you can check out our sponsors at piesports.com. Get yourself a nice, sweet, tasty, delicious discount there of 12.5% off by using the code BUS1888 on your order. And now, all the good stuff is out of the way, guys. Let's get into it, because before we come to the viewers' questions, there's something I want to lead with right away, because domestic football is about to return. Obviously, we've just had the international break there, so naturally, VAR has to be getting talked about somewhere. And I seen a tweet today that was doing the rounds from a certain member of Scottish media. I don't even know where he's working now. They used to be obviously the main sort of lead anchor on Sky Sports for the Scottish football, David Tanner. He's popped up to answer back to a comment that Frank McAvenny had made. And this is actually the tweet. So McAvenny had obviously said, Celtic hero fumes at Rangers penalty start as referee blasted for using VAR as the coward's way out. Twice David Tanner said, Celtic had not conceded a penalty before the introduction of VAR, but have lost 7 since October. Here's what that actually means. Being a big club, Celtic got away with a lot of refs, were influenced by crowds and pressure via the media. 7 fouls equals 7 penalties. VAR is a leveller. The key word I would say in that little rant he's had is leveller, because let's talk about levels and so forth. And obviously, we have conceded a fair few penalties since then. Some of them are pretty debatable. Even more debatable, though, when you look at the penalties that aren't getting given, Mark, particularly around the good old handball. Of course, one of Rangers' main centre-backs, Connor Goldson, he's actually got 2 positions on the park. He's also Rangers' part-time goalkeeper, it seems, as well. When you see some of the ridiculous decisions that have gone against us, like, for instance, Bernabei's handball against Dundee United, where it was behind his back slightly, even ones that we've been given to us, like that Greenock Morton game, the cup game, where I don't think you could have found a single Celtic fan that would have said, oh, that was definitely a penalty that we should have got there. And then you look at the decisions that aren't going against that other team across the city. And keep in mind, this is the same David Tanner that when he left Sky Sports was attending Rangers fan conventions in Las Vegas with Neil McCann. It's very hard to take his point seriously, is it, Judge?
Oh, the guy's a fucking fanny, let's be honest. I mean, he was on Sky Sports News, he done nothing but fucking slag Celtic and grin every time he spoke about Rangers. The guy's an utter prick, you know what I mean? And it's no surprise that he hits out with this stuff. Don't forget, this is the guy that was at Rangers supporters functions while he was still working for Sky. I mean, how can he possibly try and constitute unbiased when he's speaking about football when he's at Rangers functions? The guy is just an utter wank. He's just trying to get himself into publicity. I think he's doing probably after dinner speakers now. I don't think he's on TV anymore or radio. I've not heard from the guy other than the odd stint on Twitter. He comes away with some utter pish. And I mean, he's a Rangers fan, right? And rather than concentrating the fact that Rangers were on a 47-game streak without losing a penalty, they got a penalty against them, and since then they're on a 45-game streak. That's like one penalty in 85 matches or something, 95 matches or something. So I would concentrate on that how a club in the last 3 seasons have got a plus penalty ratio of 35. And the closest to them is Hearts, who's got a plus penalty ratio of 10. I mean, for you for even to have 35 penalties in 3 seasons is absolutely fucking scandalous. You don't want to see that in Rangers statistics. I mean, let's get a funny message after David, the picture. He says I'm always looking raging on the show, so I thought I did to smile there. It made me laugh. But no, I really don't know what to say about this guy. I mean, anybody that saw his big cheesy grin on Sky Sports is just, honest to God, I mean, no wonder Sky Sports get rid of him. I'm sure him, Chris Commons and Chris Boyd, James McFadden, they're all on to wind up the Celtic fans because not one of them's got a clue about football. I mean, listen to guys like Stan Petrov, and that's hard enough, but at least they're coming from a right place, and they're not just saying things just to cause controversy. I believe these guys are just idiots in general, whereas I think the likes of McFadden and Chris Commons and Andy Walker and him are just saying things because they're just fannies in general, you know what I mean? So, I would discount it. And David Tanner says, mate, the guy is just an utter prick.
Yes, well said, John. And Liam, obviously, naturally, when you put that out there, and let's be honest, he kind of knows what he's doing by throwing the bait out there and provoking a reaction, because naturally he did get a reaction he probably wanted. But of course, many people replied and pointed out, things like, Bobby Johnson and all that, but he never replies to us. He's very selective in his replies, and people are saying your bias is showing there, David. Oh, what bias are you talking about? And it's like, oh, come on, we know what you're up to. But yeah, just not want to be taken seriously. It's interesting as well that people do point out because people who are trying to stick up for him are going, oh well, Rangers have conceded a penalty via VAR. Yeah, it was in that cup game, Partick Thistle, which is inconsequential to the league title race, because let's be honest, the league title is the one that they want due to the money, the prize money from the Champions League. But keep in mind, Liam, that same game they also needed a very strange VAR decision where they got a penalty for a foul that happened outside the box, and then just a few weeks later, we're playing St Mirren in the league in Paisley, and we initially got a penalty that got overturned because the foul happened outside the box. So again, going back to his word at the end of that tweet, a leveler. It's not a leveler at all. Inconsistency all over the place.
That's isn't it? I mean, see, being on this side of the Atlantic, Scotland's got a weird relationship with its media. I mean, the sensationalism and all that stuff that goes on, I thought North American sports was pretty bad, but it's nowhere near the level of Scotland. It's like, it's guys like David T.N.F, if they want to write about sports right now, they're about Bigfoots and UFOs and and things like that, because it's just, they know their audience, and so they know they can get away by like expressing opinion as fact, and like somehow people are going to eat this up, and I don't know. I mean, like I tend to just like, oh, that's just another dumpling with a keyboard. Just trying to get some clickbait and all that. And so, I mean, it's amazing how I think they're defending themselves as much as they can right now. They're trying to salvage anything they can for this season. And then right now, when you're that desperate, everything must look like a win to them. So even coming out and saying that somehow we've been awarded a foul throw when we shouldn't have, or that, all that is all wins to them right now, because that's how much they're on their hands and knees.
Oh, big time. I've said it before about the things that they celebrate. We're celebrating like trophies and things like that. And the other day we talked about the Gerrard celebration in a charity game, and they're loving that. And it's like, when the real trophies get handed out at the end of the season, we'll see how far that one takes you. Now, Connor, we know that you love a good spirited rant about that lot. So steady on, son. Here you go. Here we go. I'm going to hand over to you in this one. So what's your take on all this? Just more pie in the sky tripe and so on. Just these rhetoric. At the end of the day, they're still, trailing us by 9 points and so forth. So it's still no matter what's been thrown away and how many they've got away with, it's not really working, is it? We're still pulling away from them.
No, it's just it's kind of inconsequential at the end of the day, and it kind of also backs up just how good Celtic have been because of the fact that this is what we're against. We've said it for day one since VAR came in. Me and Mark in that post-match pitch against Hearts, the Celtic aren't playing against 11 men anymore. They're playing against the 13. They're playing against the referee and they're playing against VAR. It's just it's just a mechanism to aid them because if you've ever watched any of their games this season, they're absolutely shit. They're such a terrible watch. Like, it's just route one football, lumping balls up the park, try to whip balls in to fucking El Buffalo Wings and to try and get a tap in. And they need that. They need that wee extra push to get them over the line. And the referees know that, and they know for a fact that this country, nothing will ever get done about it. Considering the fact that it's took them I don't know how long to deal with violence and that against our staff and our players and our fans at a derby last season, and earlier on as well. Just they don't want to upset the apple cart as it is because even though they're not the same fucking club anymore and they're dead and buried and they're this new fucking disgusting entity, the media don't like to admit that fact, and they still like to put them as the establishment club. So I think up until we overtake them as well in their fictional numbers of trophies and titles and whatever it may be, then, you know, they might just, you know, have to just keep giving them what they can get right up until that point, because they know for a fact that they are miles off us right now, and the only way they can compete is by cheating. And it's, you know, it's been the same for the last 20 years. The previous club and the current club, if you combine their trophies together in the past 20 attempts, I think they've got 5, which is fucking shocking. That's absolutely terrible. That's utter domination.
35 years. They spent the first 120 years no signing a Catholic, and the next 25 no paying their bills, mate. You're talking about the most corrupt club that's ever fucking existed.
Oh no, I'm just talking about modern day now, man.
Oh, right, mate, fair enough.
You know, it's utter domination by Celtic, and you know it's going to just keep continuing. And you know, the fact that all they have to celebrate this season potentially is Steven Gerrard scoring a penalty against us in a cup game just shows how absolutely fucking pathetic they are as a fan base. And look, the banter years are back, baby. They're back with a bang.
That's a famous commentary, isn't it? We're back with a bang. But yeah, as I said earlier on, you know, we'll see and see how far that celebration gets them, because some of the tweets I was seeing at the weekend were just like ridiculous. Like I said on the Sunday Blether, the account Rangers fans celebrating imaginary trophies. Yeah, that GIF was getting a good runabout on the weekend there, retweeting people. But yeah, obviously we return to domestic action this week. Hopefully VAR isn't another talking point. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, but with the way things have went since VAR's came in, can't really be trusted, sadly, and that's unfortunately the world we live in. The folk that are running it right now don't got a clue. Now anyway, we'll move on now to some of the points that have been coming in, and I remind everyone again, get your points in and so forth. But anyway, we'll start with Stubbsy's horse. Talking about, of course, financial turnover and money, something that's always very much hand in hand with Celtic at boardroom level. So, hi guys, 112 million in turnover. What percentage of profits from that will Angelos, very good calling him by his Sunday name there, get, do you think? So, Mark, what realistically do you think we will see spent on the team in the summer? This money that's coming in from numerous different revenue streams. Obviously, it's now out there that Celtic have pulled in 112 million. Are you expecting a massive splurge of cash at the summer, or do you think it will still be pretty much the same strategy? Because so far, Ange has shown that he doesn't need to spend stupid amounts of money, like £7-8 million players. But do you think we need to make those statement signings to take that next step? Or are you quite happy if the player only costs £1 million and he does the job that, you know, we want him to do, that what Ange wants him to do? You happy to just stick in that model for the time being?
I think you're more likely to see a blockbuster video show on Mars than you're seeing Celtic splurge cash, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, we've got £50 million in the bank just now, and we've got Celtic fans panicking all over Twitter, and the thought of Celtic spending 10 million. Add to that £112 million, I mean, probably only 30 or 40 million, and that's probably profit. I mean, our costs are probably about 70 million, I don't know. Roughly, I've just said that, but a lot of that's going to be profit, and we've got profit and money in the bank. About 50 million is our own figures said in the 6-month interim. So it doesn't matter, mate, if we had 10 billion, we're not going to spend it. I think we will see some money spent this season, but I think we will sell players. I think we're going to see a couple of players go that we don't want to go. This is fine. I think Ange's possibly made us think now that if big players are going to go, that if there's ever a man that's able to turning it over and getting somebody into the next level, then he can do it. I mean, Alistair Johnson being one, and I think when the likes of a Hatate and that goes, somebody might come in who's probably maybe not up to their standard instantly, but somebody's got the potential to overtake them or at least replace them. I think we will spend money, but I think the outgoings will outweigh the incomings financially, I think, because we don't need a big rebuild. This is a squad that's constant. This is already a moving train, so it's just about putting pieces in the puzzle now. You know what I mean? It's not about building a defence or building a midfield. It's all about just trying to get certain areas of the park to the next level. And if we sell somebody for, just say for talk's sake, you know that I want to see him go, but if they get just say 15 or 12 or whatever for Hatate, we're not going to spend that always replacement. We're going to spend 3 or 4 million. That's just a Celtic model, and I think that's what's going to happen, mate. I think I would like to see Celtic upgrading the next level rather than buying a £3 million player who needs maybe 8, 10 months, 12 months of development further. I'd rather Celtic just bypass that stage of that guy's career and just buy the very, very best that we can afford and the very, very best that we can attract. I don't think Celtic will ever do that under the current regime, because I've said before, our board, they've got to answer to shareholders, and our second biggest shareholder is a company who is an umbrella company who they demand payback dividends every season, so they need to watch what they're spending. I don't think that's the right way to run a club the size of Celtic. Not a lot of clubs Celtic size ever make money. It's peculiar. Celtic are a very strange anomaly in world football, that we're a club that actually make money. I mean, and we never seem to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Albeit people tell you we're in trouble in the mid-90s, but we weren't really as bad as what some people want you to think. But we actually made money. The season we get put in, we actually made money. We were made more money than Rangers did that season. That's quite ironic, but anybody wanted to do their research on that. But I think we will spend money relatively, but I wouldn't be holding my breath for Celtic to go out and spend 20-30 million. I think it will be the usual spend. Maybe bring in 20 and sell and spend maybe 10. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we'll go to the bank for. I've said before, if we go to the bank tomorrow and £100 million in the bank account by mistake, we're not going to spend it. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So it's just up to Celtic, and especially the manager we've got, who I trust Ange with the pennies and pounds before I'd trust another manager with the millions. And Ange Postecoglou, I think, has got the ability to go into an untapped market and spend £3 million and get a player who's probably realistically worth 5 or 6. Yeah. So as long as he does that, then I'm all for it.
Now, Liam, something we've talked about on the show regarding the spending and investment in the team. Do you think that the current model that we're in, where Ange is obviously, he's got many, many aces up his sleeve, as he's shown some of the players he brought in. Do you see next season in Europe we're going to take that next step and actually be competitive again, going in the current model that we are? Do you trust Ange in the summer, if he did stick to the, as Mark's saying there, maybe spend maybe tops 3-4 million on a player, but it's down about the 1-2 million mark, but you're getting players of quality of the Hitatis and that come in, or Maidas. Do you trust that if Ange keeps to that model, we will start to see the turnaround in Europe next season after getting a wee taste of it this season? I mean, when you look at the way that group panned out, we made so many chances. I think somebody said on one of the shows the other day, apparently we had 82 shots on target in those 6 group games. And I've said before, there's probably teams out there that have won the Champions League before that didn't even get 82 shots on target in the entire tournament. We squandered so much chances. So it feels like we're that close, just a few wee things we need to iron out. But do you trust that the way Ange is going, it's going to be a good campaign next season, the current model?
It'll be interesting to see. It'll depend how this campaign finishes out. Are we preparing for next year already, like working new players in, maybe trying to develop a new system? I think those are all good things to watch for in the next 9 games, just to sort of see if you can figure out any clues of what you might be trying. If we're going to start seeing more of O and Kyogo up front at the same time. And that could give us a good hint into maybe what sort of player we're looking for. Where we're looking for maybe like a 1-2 punch up top when we go to Europe, so that we can take advantage of a lot of the opportunities? Or is it a proven goal poacher like a Moussa Dembele that we talked about as well? I mean, all those I think are all good sort of opportunities that are available to see what's going to happen, and then what we can spend the money on. Are we going to go and break the bank? No, I agree with Mark. What I want to see, though, is I want to see the money going somewhere. I don't want to see it going in heated driveways and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like anything that just looks dodgy. Is that just a wee bit more transparency? If it's going into the infrastructure of the club, let's see that. And again, we can see that already with some of the appointments that we're getting, that high-level scouts and all that. And then the other stuff as well. Come on, Celtic, give some of it back to the community. Give it some back to the fans. Make some sort of gesture. Because next year's going to be the same. We'll get in the Champions League, and we've got this massive tour of Asia, in Japan with PSG and Bayern and that supposedly. I mean, that's got to come with a wee bit of dough. And so I think so as well, right? If we're bringing in this sort of money and, in this age and, austerity and all the cutbacks and all that, find a way so that you can give value back to your fan base, And I think Celtic could do really, really well to be wise, but okay, because what it would do, that would buy them forgiveness if we stick to our model. You know, it's not just mean that we're hoarding cash. We've got an idea that it's Ange's football philosophy fits these players, and someone outside that pay scale or something might throw it off. But then you see the money going into the structure and the development and the Lennoxtown and, you know, and younger players that we're scouting and the staff and that. So, just want to see where the money's going.
Aye, well, Colin, I'll come to you in this point that CJ's brought up. Does this one strike the fear into you? There's a few people in the chat saying they agree with him. Bit of worry if this was to transpire. He says, obviously, I trust Ange. I don't trust the board. This will be the summer when we either back the gaffer or we lose him. Do you subscribe to that one, Connor? If Ange doesn't get what he wants, have you got the fear that it may be another Brendan Rodgers type scenario where the cracks will begin to form and then he'll be like, sorry, guys, I'm out of here. And this is a guy who, of course, walked out on his national team shortly before the World Cup in 2018 because they weren't agreeing with him at the level above. So does that strike fear into that idea, Connor?
It's always a wee bit of a concern when, you know, you've seen this pattern repeated time and time again. You know, they did it with Martin O'Neill. They did it with Brendan Rodgers, you know, two of the greatest Celtic managers to ever, you know, grace the club. And I think if Ange keeps going the way he's going, he might find himself in that esteemed company as well. But, you know, they need to back him, because if it wasn't just the money that they spent, if it wasn't for the contacts and the knowledge and the background that Ange had, we wouldn't have be where we are now. You know, they did back him, but all the seeds that have been planted have came from him, so much so the fact that we've, you know, opened up an academy, a soccer academy in Japan, you know, to hopefully see, you know, young lads coming from Japan, maybe, you know, come out to Celtic and things like that, you know, but I'm a wee bit nervous about it. It's just, it's biting away at me, because I know that, you know, we've got these record profits, and there will be pressure for the support for us to back the manager and do that. But, you know, we've seen it before. I think all this will come down to is what, you know, the ones across society all day, because when they eventually have to release their finances, and I think we all know what it's going to say, then the Celtic board might, you know, take it for granted again and just say, we're miles clear, we're fine, we don't need to spend, you know, 10 million on this class player that could, you know, net us 50 million in 4 years. I'm saying that hypothetically, obviously, but, you know, it's the same club that wouldn't fork out an extra £1,000 on John McGinn. It's ridiculous. It's still the same board, and, you know, all Pistol Pete's still floating about the boardroom, and people say, "Oh no, he's not had enough time to settle in," stuff like that. And what we're seeing now over the past few months since he's been back is deals collapsing to extend contracts for players. How much of that's true and how much of that's, you know, the media stirring the pot, I guess we'll never really know, because we can't be a fly in the wall. But, you know, it's the two things correlate, and it's very, you know, they do kind of come together at the same time. It's not a coincidence, in my opinion. It's you know, it all makes sense when you look at the facts and the history of it. But I don't know. I feel like even if they weren't to back Ange as much this summer, even I feel like they have to, because, you know, depending on who goes, because we have no idea, then we need to make a dent in the in Europe, because that is what Ange, I think, wants to do. I feel like if he wanted to just win league titles, he would be here till he died. But he wants to try and make a dent in Europe and with this club, you know, to get us back up to, you know, the upper echelons of the European football scene. So I feel like even if they don't back him, he's not the kind of guy who's going to walk out midway through a season, unlike what Rodgers did. I feel like the things with Rodgers was a lot of things that we maybe never seen behind the scenes until after it, and it was chipping away at him for a long time, and then eventually got to that point where he just went, fuck it, I'm away in the middle of the season. So far under Ange, we've not really seen anything like that. He has been backed. He has had the players he's wanted. Granted, a couple have fell through here and there, but it's not been too much, and he's lost a couple. But
his hit ratio was pretty good.
So no, I think until we get to a point where we need to start worrying, like we start getting evidence that we need to start worrying, then we should, start, getting our knickers in a twist. But until then, I think we're all good. I think we'll be all right.
And to P. Scally music. Aye. Don't
forget, the reason why he's at Celtic Park is because he left a job halfway through a season, and he just said there he walked out his country.
He did.
A country that took him in and brought him up. He didn't really walk away from a club, but he's been in for 14 and a half minutes. Behave yourselves.
But we don't give him more than what those gave him, arguably.
Aye. And also, as I say, Pete Scally music, don't even tempt them. Don't even, with that comment on the screen, don't even tempt them to do it. You never know who from the club maybe watch it, go, oh, a fifth kit, that's a good idea. We'll just do that as well. Don't. We talked about, obviously, kits and Adidas and stuff last week, so let's avoid that one. So we'll move on to the next point. Obviously, I've started one here. So this is interest from Hoops Boy. Says, thoughts on Celtic announcing long-term plans to extend the main stand, boosting the capacity 8,000. Now, I want Hoops Boy to come back in and verify this. Is this a story that's been confirmed, or is this just a hypothetical situation? Because this is something that's came up. I've seen many times fans talking about we should build that south stand to match the rest of the stadium, obviously increase the capacity and so on. I think it's been put to the club before the AGMs, and they've said things back like it's going to be like 100 million to do that and so forth. But yeah, I would appreciate if Hootsboy would come back in and tell us, is this something now that's doing the rounds? It looks like it is in the pipeline, or is this just a sort of what our thoughts are if they did go for it? Because me personally, I think the stadium's actually fine as it is. I'm a football traditionalist at heart. I kind of like the main stand, especially when you stand outside at the front, it looks exactly the same as it did in 1989. It's a wee throwback to sort of like the roots. It's not like they've completely demolished the entire stadium and just built an entire new one. They've kept something that kind of ties it in. You see old pictures of Celtic Park from the early 90s, Mark, where you've got the press box that hangs down from the south stand, the Celtic Football Club across it. I still quite like that that's there, so I'm always into things like that as a sort of football traditionalist. What about yourself, Mark? Would you, do you think the club should look down that avenue? If it's true that it's going to cost 100 million, is it really worth them doing that? When at the end of the day, as fans, what we want is something on the park that wins rather than spending money on that if it did cost that much.
I don't think it'd be 100 million. I think that's just ridiculous. But I don't think we need to eat. I mean, 80,000. Celtic wouldn't sell that unless it was maybe a derby match or a big European match. I mean, Phil, there's 48,000 at a home match. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, what's the point in having another empty 32,000 seats when you think if there's 80,000, there's 48,000 there. At Celtic Park, when there's 45,000 at Celtic Park, it looks a quarter empty. 45,000 at Ibrox looks packed, because that's the difference in size of stadium, and I don't really know what benefit you would get out of having an extra 10, 15,000 empty seats. Now, there is a waiting list, but the waiting list is only a £10 deposit. It's not a guarantee to buy, a guarantee to purchase. No everybody that's on that list will be in the same financial situation as what they were in when they put the £10 deposit down. And even at that, I just can't see long-term Celtic. I mean, come on, Phil, we were there when it was 21,000 under Dialer's days, you know what I mean? I know we're going back to the days, but your home support fluctuates. When Neil came out, when Neil came in to say you couldn't buy a ticket for love nor money. I mean, you just couldn't buy one. It was 60,000 every week, and Ange broke that last season as well. And you're slowly beginning to see folk get excited about it, and then it levels out a wee bit, and now you start getting your 50,000. You're still getting 52, 53, 54,000 against like your Hearts and all the rest of it, because there's a lot of excitement against these teams. You want to see Celtic pump them because they're just scum of the earth, to be quite frank with you. But so I don't think us having, 80,000. Are Celtic big enough a club to have 80,000 fans in a stadium? Aye. Are Celtic at a level where they can attract 80,000 fans every week? Bear in mind that a good chunk of your support come from Ireland and England, and Sunday kick-offs at 12 o'clock, or they can't make it because they got work on a Monday or Wednesday night when they're playing Hamilton Ackies, and a lot of the Irish fans and a lot of the English fans decide that it's not worth me taking 2 days off my work for. It's not going to work, mate. If Celtic go spend money on that main stand, and I've got a lot of friends who sit in the main stand, and my dad and my brother had tickets to the main stand. That is an utter dump. I mean, see, you can say that main stand, it's the same facilities that was there in 1990, mate. You get toilets that are just not being touched since the 90s. You get 2 kiosks in the full stand, I believe. It's just an utter mess. I would upgrade that and give the people who are paying premium tickets value for money. No, I mean, why the kiosks for food is you walk down the hall and it's like just a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
That's it, mate. It's like literally a hole in the wall, you know what I mean? And I think these guys that are paying even more than me and you feel deserve a wee bit extra. I would upgrade that. I would maybe upgrade the changing rooms so we can upgrade Celtic's rating. Basically, with UEFA, I think we have to upgrade that before we can start hosting European finals. It's like the stadium itself it's a classy enough stadium. It's iconic. I think that facade on the front, you could keep the facade and level off the stadium. If you're going to level off a stadium, you could do it and turn it into corporate boxes. I'm not one for snobs taking over Celtic Park, but if you had like 10 boxes that are so many £1,000 a year and a tens of thousands, we'd sell them out, no bother. You'd have sponsors that would buy them, no bother at all, and they would all level out with it looking like there's 20,000 extra empty seats at Celtic Park, you know what I mean? I'm not one for that. I'm just saying that it's a way you could level out without having that obligation of empty chairs. And I just don't think, if we went to the Premiership in England, I think we'd get 80,000 fans. I think we'd be up there with Man U's support for a home match. But just now, I mean, you get real, man. Be realistic here. Celtic only going to get 80,000 against Aberdeen. I think the first season, you would see it on the opening day. You'd probably see it against Rangers twice, but see after that, you would never see it. Never.
Yeah, only on European nights and Rangers games, mostly in title day. Yeah, so even the current format that we've got, still plenty of empty seats around the stadium because a season ticket holder is always counted as attending the game, even if they don't physically turn up for the game. So that's always something that goes into the final figure for the attendances. But Liam, coming to you on this point as well, like AJSC Tech, that's a mouthful for me there. UEFA will increase the number of European games from 8 in the group phase for 2024 to 16 games, because obviously there's that change in the format coming where it's going to be like it's going to go from groups of 6 to this big massive league. I think it's 36, then you play 10 games or something like that. It's like, I've not seen it. Well, obviously, we've not seen it happen yet, but I've just been reading over like propositions. But either way, it's going to increase the number of games. So you're saying, therefore, a stadium expansion could be justified. How do you feel on the idea of it being expanded? I mean, I think one of the points Mark brought up there was fantastic. He's right about, see the actual inside of the stadium, like the concourses and stuff like that. Man, that could really do with a bit of an upgrade because it is very bare bones for the fan experience at Celtic Park. The actual stadium, when you go inside, the arena part of it, it looks the part. It looks fantastic, but there is some parts within the stadium I think are definitely starting to show its age now and could get a wee upgrade. But what about yourself, Liam? How do you feel about the idea of a bigger stadium? Or would you rather maybe it does get so like the upgrades within the stadium, like dressing rooms and the concourse and so on? Where do you lie in that one?
Yeah, I don't think it's about mass or scaling it up. You know, bricks and mortar is such an old concept. I mean, we're building a fan base in Japan and South Korea right now as well. So it's no as much bums on seats as an important factor for us right now. The European thing, I think that's a wee bit different. You know, and if it's just solely for that, then it's probably something to do with Europe to help deliver an away fan experience. And, you know, we've all talked about this. Like how we moan when people look at us as a away fan experience, but unfortunately that's who we are, and so UEFA will sell us that way, and so it would be their best interest if they can get more away fans to come to experience what a night at Celtic is like. That would definitely part of the marketing plan that they would use when they were, you know, looking at sponsors, and you know, this is what Celtic would bring to the table. You know, I think we should be taking that money and using it more on fan experience. As you're saying, like, you know, I've not been there in ages, but I remember going in the shock here, toilets, everything. I mean, American stadiums. I've been on loads there here, right? Just that whole experience, you're treated like you're you're a criminal before you even get in there. You know, you would never, ever, you know, try and deliver that thing, because people out here are savvy. This stuff is money. It's marketing, and that's what you're delivering. And you want your fans to be content, and your customers, as Fergus McCann used to say. And so you have to take in customers and know, like, animals that need to be, you know, corralled and herded and that and throughout and delivered, like, we'll give you the experience we think you deserve. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And I think Celtic, a lot of, especially the fans, have a lot more power than they think they do that ways. And I think we need to put pressure on the club. So, yeah, don't just look at expanding the stadium. Expand the experience so that everybody going there, where you're going with your family, you're going with your mates, that you've got the opportunity to have like a professional experience from the minute you walk into the doors to when you're let out. You know. And then as far as how we're going to see Celtic, put some of that money into the technical capabilities of Celtic as well. You know, always had a hard time with Celtic TV and things like that. Get that up and sort that out, because that's more than an extra 20,000 people. You could expand again as we're moving into territories like South Korea and Japan. Okay, we even have to be more savvy and more on the ball on that, because that gives you opportunity. And you know what? Don't fall asleep at that wheel. You know, that's an expensive one.
Yeah, you've mentioned before that your opinions on Jerry McCulloch. I know what you're thinking, Liam. You know, the Neil Mullennan meme.
Well, we've got,
that's what you're thinking.
Yes, with some of the most famous actors, comedians, singers, and that in the world that have absolutely no problem taking an ambassadorship and stuff, and, like, you know, and associating themselves with Celtic when it suits them. Okay, bring them in, use them as part of that savvy, and that will promote your band bigger without the world. You know, Snoop Dogg should have been in there. We should have been doing stuff that we can do to create content that's just a little bit darker, rather than that. You know, the ventriloquist dummy, and he's just so nice. You know, and you know, did for something proper. Give some personality to the brand.
Oh, totally. If you've watched one interview with a new signing with Jerry McCulloch, you've watched them all, because it's like the same 10 questions that he goes through. So what can the fans expect from you as a player? And it's always the same generic stuff. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, Liam. We could definitely do upgrading all the TV and media facilities.
Yeah, Big Jerry's definitely Pinocchio. I mean, I've never seen a more wooden host in the entire life. You think he'd get better, but it gets worse. Anyway, I'm glad to have you in the book.
And before I come at you, Connor, just a big thanks to Joseph McGonigal for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you very much. Of course, if you wish to become a YouTube member like Joseph, and many others have them, by all means, please do so. It's totally free, but it's just a wee off of the cap to the driver. None of our content will ever be behind any paywalls or on Patreon and so forth. But yeah, for $1.99 a month, just a wee sort of like, just thanks to the team and so forth, then yeah, we massively appreciate it. But of course, if you don't want to, then that's absolutely fine as well. It's just a wee thing to show your appreciation. But thanks very much, Joseph. We appreciate that massively. Now, of course, Connor, and amongst there, when Liam was talking, he was talking about the away fan experience and so on. And fans are a very topical thing right now when it comes to Celtic. In fact, today in the group chat, I saw a bit of back and forth involving our very own judge here. We're talking about the Ibrox debacle, fans not being there and so on, and what we should do about it. And I have got a question here from Stubbsy's Horse. It's a question panel. I fact that Monty that caused that. Then everyone says panel. Where do you stand on not turning up at Ibrox in the next game in order to get traction with our grievances? But me personally, and I know Mark, I saw you saying this in the group chat, the idea of the team not turning up and not playing and basically boycotting it is a bad idea, because the SFA will dock you points for not turning up and fulfilling a fixture. This has just become a shambles, or hasn't it, Connor? Obviously they've started it. It's all started from them back in 2018, and it's just went on and on and on. And yeah, but I've seen this suggestion going around about just no bother playing them, and it's like, no, we need to still play them. We need to turn up and actually give them a game. We can't do that, but this whole fan debacle, I mean, it's old hat now, and it's like, are they ever going to basically drop the petted lip act and actually, pull the finger out and get things back to how it should be, or is it just a case of this will never change now?
No, because they won't, and because they'll never admit that they're wrong. They'll never once, look inwards and just see that they're a bunch of snivelling wee cretins that, you know, couldn't take getting pumped off us for years and still are. You know, it's the bearing in mind this all started because we were pumping them time after time after time, 5-1, 5-1, 5-0, 4-1, you know, and I could go on and on and on. And believe me, I will, Bob, don't worry. So it's not, it's just, it's it's hilarious because, you know, we've now went and said, right, Celtic have went to Rangers and said, right, we want the original away allocation.
Yep.
We'll give that to you if you give that to us, right? They won't do it. They won't do that. They've said nope. So Celtic have then done a bit of a ballsy move and said, sound, you're not getting any fans in then. So, and that's a massive boost to us. And the reason why, and everybody knows this, the reason why Rangers never let us get the full away allocation is because we could win the league that day at Ibrox if depending on the point situation. What that is, we could win the league that day at Ibrox. And if that happened, there would be full scale meltdown over in Govan. We've seen it. We've seen it already. You know, just how much our partying in that has absolutely destroyed them. The fact that last season they got a banner or a big thing that said Old Firm, big cardboard cutout thing, and they had to then put it in the bin because we then beat them that game. It was pictured out in a blue bin the next again morning. You know, it's just it's hilarious, and you know, let's get real here, right? There are some serious concerns going to Ibrox now as a Celtic supporter, as a Celtic player. Anybody who's affiliated with Celtic in any way has got some serious concerns going to Ibrox because there's safety concerns. Chris Sutton, a pundit who played for us 20 years ago, who is basically our version of Ali McCoist. He likes a bit of a wind up. He likes to have a bit of a dig here and there. And look, I know people don't like him, and I like Ali McCoist. Personally, I think he's brilliant. I think he's a good guy. He's funny. I like him in Scotland commentary. He's a good laugh for Chris Sutton. I wouldn't ban Ali McCoist to come to Celtic Park because I can't take up slagging us. Do you know what I mean? Sutton. Like, they said Chris Sutton's not allowed in Ibrox to do commentary on BT because of safety concerns. The police confiscated weapons for Rangers fans the last time we were at Ibrox. What was the plan there? Because we blew with them. But if that Kyogo last minute equaliser was a winner, what would have happened there? Would they charged the away section? Would they charge the pitch? You haven't got a clue. Yep. You know, our goalkeeper had a bottle flung at him, and there was shards of glass strewn across the pitch, and which had to be picked out. And in that same game, a Celtic physio was struck in the head with a bottle and required stitches, and he's got a scar, and permanent scarring. That could have been a lot worse. That could have been brain damage. That could have been anything. It could have led to him being seriously injured. And it all stems from Rangers because look, I'll say this, and I don't say it lightly because I've known many Rangers fans throughout my life, right? And I've got on my most of them. They are the scum of the fucking earth. They are the worst football club, this version and the last, to ever exist. All they represent is darkness and hate and scumbaggery and thuggery, and that's all they'll ever be. And Celtic should not bow down to their fucking demands. We should be demanding them what to do. So see if you want us, right, to not get any away fans, that's fine. We'll come and pump you in your own backyard and with 50,000 of the fucking blue nose orcs watching, because we'll do it again, right? And you can come to Celtic Park and watch us pump you again. It'll be party time.
Well, you're talking about stuff like that. The other night we also saw an incident where a coach for the women's team headbutted Fran Alonso in the back of the head.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I know.
A member of Rangers staff headbutted a member of Celtic staff because they couldn't accept the fact that they got a league whistle in the women's game. Not the men's game, not the B team games, the women's game.
Can I just say, let's not pretend we're angels. I mean, 5 days ago we flung bottles at a football player at a friendly match for charity. I mean, we fans running in the park against PSG, fans fighting in city centres. I mean, getting the fights we put. I mean, let's not pretend that we are angels. I mean, because we've just get the only problem is our ultras just seem to be getting a doing all the time rather than barking people. That's the only difference, you know what I mean? It's not because I mean the Rangers fans that turned up to Hampden before the match started, the Celtic fans walked into their end. So it must have been a pre-arranged fight, or at least they've been looking for a fight and they just get a doing. Not for the first time, let's be honest. So I don't think for a minute that Rangers are Connor's right, they're the scum of the earth, right? We all know that. That's not even up for debate. But let's not pretend that there wasn't Celtic fans flinging bottles at Rangers fans at Celtic Park last season, because we've all seen it. I mean, there's videos of it, you know what I mean? And vice versa. You fire a bottle, you got to get one back at you. Don't care who you support. I mean, Celtic fans are very well behaved across Europe. The difference is when it just comes to Rangers, there's something different in there. You know what I mean? It just happens to be a bit different. Rangers played Lyon last season, and it was 2 seasons ago, whatever it was, and the Poles found the industrial-sized batteries. I'm sure that was in case Dembele came on the park. I'm sure that was in case Dembele was out to warm up. I think he was injured or he was suspended for that match, but they're not got a brain. I mean, fuck's sake. They've got inside an Easter egg blowing about their head. You know what I mean? I don't really know what Mary can say about that mob in general, but listen, I've been to Ibrox, I don't know how many times, and when there was 7,000 fans, they used to line up, the Poles used to line up, and Rangers fans used to just stand at the main stand and just wait for you. So it was just like a blue wall of folk just want to shout at you, and that was the 7,000. Yeah. So there's always been the danger. I always say that, to be honest with you, I think that normally the safest match to attend is normally one of the matches, because there's too many Poles for you to do it in. But see, because of the away crowd split doing so much, that I've heard both sets of fans complain about the safety. And we all know the Poles in Scotland are a shite, you know what I mean? The Poles in Scotland are not even fit for purpose for the best of times, you know what I mean? And we all know about security issues at Celtic Park and the over-policing at Celtic Park, and I just don't know where we go with it. But I just don't know how we can get on our high horse and start saying that it's only Rangers fans that are... Rangers banned Celtic en masse for behind the goal because they couldn't stand us celebrating. That's a fact. They all know that. I mean, they can't. We sat for 9 in a row, didn't they? All this carry on. I mean, although we try to attack a referee, you know what I mean? People forget that. Although the guy deserved it, in my opinion, it's a pity that they never maybe reached him. But I don't know. But sorry, just to counter what Connor says.
No,
I just don't think.
Well, I agree with you, mate. We're no angels. They're scumbags.
There's sections of our support that I don't like, right? And that's up to me. That's up to you as well. But you know something? Every club has got a section of support that's just know what you want to see, and you know we're all capable of having a drink in us and just getting a bit rowdy. And just something, the Rangers fans, I think, I've said before, they learn how to hate before they learn how to love. And they're told notice with a green, they're told to hate us and all the rest of it. Whereas we just kind of tend to be kind of like, we laugh at them more than we focus on how much we hate them. Mm-hmm. The difference is they hate us more than they love life, and that's as simple as that.
I mean, look, the only thing I'll say is I feel like we do have a bit of shite bit in our support, and every club's got it, but I feel like yours is very minuscule and it's very like contained. I think theirs is probably the vast majority, and that's no me again talking it being out of order there. I think if you've grew up in Scotland and you've grew up anywhere, it doesn't even matter when you grew up. If you grew up where I grew up, if you grew up in Glasgow, if you grew up in Edinburgh, if you grew up north, it permeates through the entire country. They're absolute fucking bile. And you know the scumbaggery that they come away with. You know, I walked in the street and there's painted stuff on a bus stop like "Kill all Tags" and "Fuck the Pope" and that. You're just like, what's that going to do with a football, man? Like it's like, and Celtic fans get back about the monarchy and that, but that's not necessarily just a Celtic issue. That goes way deeper and way wider than just football. That, but no, it's really.
That's the ball, Connor. I can't shout "fuck the Queen" but get upset by "fuck the Pope" because the Pope's a religion. That's totally different. But to them, "fuck the Queen" might just be as upsetting as us here in Fuck the Pope in their small brains. I don't think we can be in any high horse. But I'm not saying you're trying to be in a high horse at all, Connor. I'm not saying that, but I don't think we can be in a high horse and claim to be a higher caliber of support when there's been. In fact, do you see just now we've actually got a security issue just now, which I think's been over the top. But there's fans like me and Phil, especially Phil because he sits in the lower end. We're unable to see certain parts of the pitch because there's a line of stewards standing in front of the park, which folk run on the pitch. The problem has got that bad now. The club have decided to hire an extra couple hundred, but it looks like stewards each match so that folk don't just stop running on the pitch too, because it's becoming every match now that you're getting folk on that pitch. And I mean, there was a game a few weeks ago, Phil, and there's about 4 folk on the pitch. I mean, you're going, I understand it, but I just don't think we can preach it, mate. I really don't. They're scum. But I
don't see why when we're playing teams like St Johnstone and that you need an entire line of police running about, the Green Brigade and that. And
were you at the game a couple of months ago where a massive army of stewards came out with about 5 minutes to go, and there was too many of them, and they had to about turn and go back? It was this weird surreal image. It was a midweek game. We were playing at night time. A couple of minutes to go, they did the thing they come out, but far too many of them came out at the Lisbon Lions End, and they got to about halfway around the park and realised there was far too many and about turned. It was just this weird surreal image of all these stormtroopers basically marching out to the middle of the park, and then we're like, oh no, there's too many. Weird. They couldn't even organise that properly. But just on something that you mentioned there, Connor, I do believe today a stories came out that the person that hit the Celtic physio with a bottle at the game at Ibrox last season, apparently he's been jailed for a year, I think it is. But I don't know if anyone's been...
legit them a year, eh?
Aye, but nobody's been pulled up for the one that got thrown at Joe Hart yet, I believe, the broken bottle.
The police said that they expected the club's CCTV, and the CCTV was switched off in that area.
Funny that, eh?
That's just what happens when you find certain pubs that there's a lot of dubious activity goes on, and the police come in, the CCTV just happened to burn itself during the night.
Oh, convenient that, isn't it?
Pubs that close themselves down.
Now, we'll get a couple of wee quick fire ones in. Liam, I am, in the words of the usual on the bus, I am acutely aware that you've not said anything for a wee while, so right now I'm going to come to you on this one. Pete Scally Music comes in with this question. Guys, can we give Calmac a breather? Surely not. Like, he's a Duracell bunny, Liam. He just keeps going and going and going.
Well, it's a hard one. I see what Pete's saying here, but you just want to keep him going. Some players, I just think needs to keep going. He's got that Iron Man thing about him, so let's keep him going. When he's ticking, we're ticking. And right now, he's got all the momentum. He's had 2 really good, strong games with Scotland. He's coming back to that team. It's like, hey, my mob beat Spain. So I think for the first time, because you can't get many guys coming back to the dressing room for a Scotland game with positive messages and all that, Usually it's the other way around. But this time I think keep the momentum going. I think let's bring a Wata on for him around about maybe 65, 70 minutes if we think we've got it done. And you see it that way.
Well, that's the thing. He's always been a player that ends up playing. Was it under Brendan Rodgers? There was a year where he played like more games than any other professional footballer in all of Europe in a calendar year. Obviously, now he's a good few years older after that, and eventually it is going to catch up to him. But as I say, he is like the Duracell bunny. He just keeps going and going and going. But my feeling is that
like it was a badge on it. Wasn't he a good thing, that, by the way?
What's this?
Folk waved that stat about like it was a badge on, like, oh, look how good Calmac is. But the most games of the year, you're like, that's not a good thing. That means he is required all the time. We do not have the depth to, give him a rest sometimes.
The thing is, I think at the time he was quite lucky when it came to injuries, but I know he's had a few knocks in the last couple of years that have kept him. We saw one, in fact, this very season with the Leipzig game, but even the Scotland game in the last minute the other night, he was obviously a long-busting run near the end, nearly helped make it 3-0 at the time, but yeah, the boy just keeps going and going. And things compared to, like this time last year, we found ourselves obviously same position, top of the league, bearing down on the title. You can't really be mixing up the first team at this stage. He's such a vital cog. And I mean, the boy himself will probably not want to drop it. I think he just loves playing football. He just relishes it. He loves being the first name on the team sheet, essentially, because the guy just goes and goes and goes. Now, Colin, I'll come to you on this one. Scott Cameron did ask about the very controversial Starfelt. You know, how people feel about him out there. So do you think that Kobayashi will replace him? Because he's saying, will we sell Starfelt in the summer and replace him with Kobayashi? Because I think he's a better player than him. That's interesting to say that, Scott, because he's only played a handful of games already. You think Kobayashi's better? Interesting. But do you think we'll sell Starfish, put Kobayashi as a starting centre back, and then buy backup for him? Or do you think Starfelt's got a good few years still at Celtic?
I really like Starfelt. I'll be one of these biggest defenders on the year. I think he gets a lot of shit, and I don't think it's necessarily warranted. But you look at Kobayashi, I think he's a really good player, but you look at who he's played against. He's played against Greenock Morton, and he came on against Hearts at Tynecastle when we were 2-0 up and we're pumping
2-0 at the time, yeah.
So, you know, it's a bit of a sticky one, because you look at what we're going into, we are not going to get as favourable a group in the Champions League this season, and we need to be airtight in the defence as much as possible. And you know what you're getting with Starfelt, and I personally think Starfelt kind of thrives when it's backs against the walls, do or die defending, which, if we're going to be, keep playing Ange ball, we're going to be leaving gaps, and these teams can counter. Oh boy, can they? And we'll be left with Carter Vickers and Starfelt. So, I think Starfelt has got still got a lot to offer this Celtic team. If he was to get sold in the summer, I don't think I'd be really massively worried, as opposed to if it was a Carter Vickers, I'd be shitting myself. But
oh yeah, that's
if it was Starfelt, I'd be a bit like, okay, we'll deal with that and hopefully reinvest it, because if Kobayashi comes in and plays well, if he gets injured, you're left with Stephen Welsh. And I don't hate Stephen Welsh. I don't hate Stephen Welsh. I think he's decent enough for the Scottish League. I just think he's wasting away at Celtic, and he needs a move for the betterment of the lad's career, because he's going to waste away at Celtic. I think he should go to a Hibs or an Aberdeen or somewhere like that and try and thrive and get some game time. So, hopefully, if Starfelt was to go, we would reinvest it and get another, really good centre back. But no, this thing I was saying before, I think people are a wee bit forgetting how far we've came, because Starfelt maybe makes one or two dodgy passes a game, and they don't necessarily lead to goals, I think. And people, he's shite, he's a bomb scare and that. I keep saying, it was only a couple of years ago, we had Shane Duffy in that Celtic back line. You got to look back, and you got to see how far we've came. No, Celtic should always be striving to improve, always striving to better players. Doesn't matter if you've been there for 1 season or 10 years. If your position's up for grabs, you should, if players are coming in and performing to the standard, they should get in there without any questions asked. But, no, Starfelt, I'd still keep him. I think he's been pretty solid this season, but even better this season than last season. I thought he was decent last season as well. So, him and Carter Vickers got such a solid partnership going. I know Kobayashi came in a lot good, but if you come in and maybe tip the scales a wee bit, and would you be comfortable, right? Say Starfelt fucking trips coming off the aeroplane and breaks his leg, right? Would you be comfortable playing him against Rangers? I don't know if I would be, just because of the environment, the how much it means, how big a game it is. We'll
put it this way, Connor. You've just said there, if it's no Kobayashi, their option is Stephen Welsh. So I think I would have to be comfortable with Kobayashi playing in that environment if that was the case. Because from what we've seen so far, it's only been a handful of games, but I think he looks comfortable. But it's probably going to be next season before we see a lot, Kobayashi getting a sort of regular run. I think at the moment it's a case of the title's in sight, we're bearing down on it, don't break up a sort of a winning partnership essentially. Now, last point we'll go, because that's just past the hour mark, and obviously the judge usually pops off at about 10. So, last point for you, Judge. People have went on a mad spree, just putting in sign this guy. But here's one that's interesting. A couple of people are obviously saying that would be a quite good signing. How does that one grab you, Judge? Billy Gilmore.
Well, he got a lot of good praise when Scotland played England a couple of years ago. I'm not entirely sure how high his careers went after that. I think Chelsea dropped him like a hot toddy. I think he
He's
went
at
to Norwich
Brighton
on loan,
now.
and Norwich didn't want to play him very much. And I think he ended up at Huddersfield or something. I don't know where he's level to it, but
He's
if
at
he's good
Brighton
enough
now.
for Celtic, sorry,
He's at Brighton now.
Brighton's now,
right.
yeah.
There's the big dogs, Brighton. But I don't really know much about him, mate. But I do remember him getting a lot of high praise, and to be honest, the fact that he played for Rangers as a youth player did not bother me one bit at all. I would more worry about the fact about his poor ma. I mean, this woman didn't want to touch the green end of a scarf when he signed for
Right, so
Norwich.
she did. I would know
And
it. Aye.
if that's the utter vile family he comes for, I'd rather just pass on that because I'd rather know
I
one
think his dad's a Celtic fan, though, or he's stepped up one of the two.
Well, I don't know why he married that cretin, to be quite honest with you, because if you're mad you don't want to touch green on a scarf,
I hope
then...
Billy's not listening, right, man? Slagging he's not.
Well, his dad's men and welcome to Celtic Park. I'm buying my pint. He's mad. I just think she's maybe rolled up the Clyde and would you call it a King Billy blow up fucking dinghy? I don't really know. She's not welcome at Celtic Park, and I really want to see her sitting in the main stand. To be quite honest with you, see an ex-Rangers player, a Rangers supporter signing for Celtic doesn't really bother me. Certain ones would bother me. I'm not like that in terms of like if they're good enough to play for Celtic, bring them in. Find Dabby Dozy. But see, this guy, he sounds like with the improved Celtic just now, I probably doubt anybody playing for Brighton and Hove Albion would improve Celtic just now. So we'll see how that one goes. I would bring him in if he's good enough. His background means nothing to me, but I'd be surprised that if the Celtic fans would take to him knowing that, like when he signed for Norwich City and nothing to do with Celtic, the man made a big deal of no touching the green part of the scarf. Just shows you what kind of house he's grew up in, you know what I mean? And it's no for me. I don't really like people who are born into hatred and evil playing for Celtic. But if he signed for Celtic, it wouldn't bother me that he's played for Rangers because he never actually played for Rangers. He only played for the under fives or something. So it's if they're good enough, bring him in. But I don't think that boy is.
How does she cope when walking on grass? That's what I want to know. If she hates the colour green so much. But anyway, before we head off, we've got another new member has joined the bus. Bring the comment up. I've got a lot of comments coming in. A lot of comments about Billy Gilmore's mother coming in. I'm not going to put them up on the screen. But yes, Edward Kerr, welcome aboard the bus, mate. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. But yeah, we'll head off next. That's an hour and 7 minutes that we've done. So yeah, we've managed to get a good few talking points there tonight, despite the fact it's been an international break and it's been a bit quiet. Once again, we've managed to pull through. So thanks everybody for all your comments tonight. Tomorrow, I'll be back on with Liam and Russell. We'll be doing the treble season on Bustalgia, so that should be interesting. There's the graphic for it there. That'll be tomorrow night's Bustalgia. And then, the weekend, the Celtic are back on Sunday against Ross County up at Dingwall. There will be Sunday Blether beforehand. And, PMP will be on. It'll be Russell and Terry on, and whoever else is on the team will join them for that one. But, it's back to normal at the weekend. So, hopefully another 3 points in the bag for Celtic. Keep the noisy neighbours at arm's length. If Dundee United could do us a wee favour though at Ibrox as well, just to keep them even further behind, that'd be great. But somehow I doubt that's going to happen. But anyway, guys, we're heading off now. Thanks everyone for watching, and we shall indeed catch you later. See you, folks.
Cheers, guys.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.